Because you might not necessarily see a high snowfall count doesn't mean this isn't a serious storm.
Yeah, and Eric, we talked so much about the people along the coast, but when I look at your maps, people inland still going to get some pretty good gusts of wind.
Absolutely. A lot of wind, a lot of heavy rainfall, and then at the end of the storm, talking about the snowfall. So this one really has basically every element you could look for in a storm except for ice. It's the one thing that we don't have on the menu with this one. But coastal flooding, the main concern with this, right up there, a top-tier event with some of the biggest flood events that we have on record here in the area. So it is one to take seriously. The inland flooding, rainfall 2 to 4 inches of rain looks very likely. Damaging wind gusts are likely, and a heavy wet snow will develop as we head toward tomorrow afternoon. That heavy wet snow is falling across New York State right now, and we see the heavy rainfall that's moving up in our direction. The first raindrops just reaching the south coast as we speak, and some wet snowflakes out across northwestern Massachusetts tonight. The wind, maybe if you noticed, walked the dog earlier on this evening, it's starting to pick up 20 to 30 mile per hour gusts. And I was checking some of the tide gauges. They're running more than a foot above predictions right now, which means we already have a storm surge developing with that onshore flow. So the rain will increase as we head through the overnight tomorrow morning. Windy and wet. It'll be raining everywhere to start the day up through the middle of the day. Now, as we head toward early afternoon, I think this is kind of that hinge point where the atmosphere gets cold enough where we start to switch over to snowfall. It would start first across central and western Massachusetts, southern New Hampshire, and then I think it should get cold enough as we head into tomorrow evening that we're going to see this flip to heavy wet snowfall into the Boston area and southeastern Massachusetts. And although it's not a 2-foot blizzard, when you have heavy snowfall and strong winds coming down during the evening and people are traveling, that could be very hazardous. So keep that in mind if you'll be out and about heading into tomorrow night. Winds are gusting right now, and they'll be gusty tomorrow morning, but it really starts to pick up late tomorrow morning. And the core of our strongest winds out of the northeast is midday up through about midnight tomorrow night. At that time, we're going to gust 40 to 60 miles per hour inland, and at the coast, we should see some 50 to as high as 85 mile per hour gusts. I think those strongest winds will be felt across Cape Cod and the islands, and certainly there'll be the potential for power outages. Now, as we're heading into tomorrow night, we still have strong north-northeasterly winds, and they'll still be with us on Saturday, especially toward Cape Cod and the islands. And with that wind direction, it forces the water up into Cape Cod Bay, and it won't be able to retreat. And that's going to exacerbate flooding concerns into Saturday as well. So we have wind advisories up for far inland areas, high wind warnings along the coast and all the way up to southern Worcester County, and then hurricane force wind warnings for the coastal waters here. Very dangerous storm for mariners. And the coastal flooding again, big part of this one. Compared to January 4th, yes, we both had astronomically high tides of the full moon. Both had strong onshore winds, but this is a much longer duration event, over 3 to 4 tide cycles, and way more wave action with this storm. So we look at some of the tide times. Tomorrow, late morning, we'll see moderate to major flooding, and then the late night one could be higher. The Saturday one could be the highest, especially as we look from Boston southward. I think Saturday will probably be the biggest one there. The flooding that we saw in January could happen over a couple of tide cycles in the city of Boston. And again, Cape Cod maybe near some record levels as we head into Saturday's high tide forecast, which will be in the middle of the day. Then we take a look at the wave heights, 30 to 35 footers just offshore. Could be as high as 15 feet actually hitting the shoreline tomorrow. The rain amounts at 2 to 4 inches of rain. Highest totals will be from Boston southward, so southeastern Mass has that highest flood risk. And then we look at the snow, and still leaning on the more bullish side of things when it comes to snowfall, especially into central Mass, southern New Hampshire, and northeastern Connecticut. But I do think we can accumulate some snowfall all the way to Boston and southeastern Mass tomorrow evening. So lots going on. This is a top-tier type of storm for us. It stays windy this weekend. The flooding is still a concern on Saturday at the coast, a little bit less of a concern on Sunday, but I still think there'll be pockets of flooding there for the second half of the weekend. David and Paula, back to you.